Steve from Naked Off-Road, and today we're going to talk about springs. These things. These little springy things. Now, some time ago, about 18 months or so ago, I bought these springs. Now they're Mountain Parabolics. Rocky Mountain is a company in Canada and they make these springs for Land Rovers. I was pretty damn excited to get them because the reports were they make the ride really supple, really nice. They make it into almost like a coil sprung vehicle. So I was pretty excited about these springs. So when I was looking for these things, I thought, wonderful. Now, look at their website, great. There's a person, a company in Australia, their agent over here, because obviously this company's in Canada, so their agent over here on their website. Rang them, turns out the website's wrong, so I had to chase around a bit, and this guy gave me the actual agent here, which is they're called 4-Wheel Drive Industries. Contacted them. These springs and shock absorbers cost me $1,650. So it's not something that you want to take on lightly. It's a fairly large amount of money. Yeah, $1,650 for 4 springs and 4 shock absorbers. So it's a suspension package. However, really, I didn't have many options. The springs were damaged in Charlie, the old Land Rover, so I just had to run with it. But, as I said, I was excited about the prospect. Now, dealing with this company, I'm going to give you guys a rundown on how my dealings were. You can make your own mind up, but the dealings were difficult. It really is a case of great product, terrible service, terrible, disgusting service. That's all I can say, and I'm not going to hold back. I will say the product itself, generally, really, really good. Just dealing with this company is like going to the dentist without anaesthetic. It's terrible. So we're going to run through the springs and I'm going to give you an indication blow by blow of my experience. All right, you can make your own mind up, but you don't have to be a genius to work out that the service has been pretty awful. So to start off with, I find the company, make an order. All right, make an order for these springs. Pretty simple, you would think, not rocket science. Part on shelf, send part to customer. Okay, doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that at all. All right, to start off with, the package took some time to arrive. When the package did arrive with my springs and all that sort of thing, it's missing several items. It didn't have certain check straps and pins and bits that were missing. So I had to sort of try and make do with what I had. So I had to get a hold of the company again. This is 4-Wheel Drive Industries, very difficult company to deal with. Seemed to be busy doing plenty of other things, really not dealing with the customer that had paid the money. More like chasing new customers, and that's really a silly thing to do in my view, because if you've got a customer, and I've dealt with this company before, if you've got a customer that's already spent and has already just spent more money with you, look after that customer. Don't try and buy new customers in shows and marketing. Look after the ones you've got. That works well. Anyway, parts didn't arrive on time. When they did arrive, great, tried to fit them. Things didn't seem quite right. I'll run through that with you, all right? Take a look. All right, so here we are. So the springs arrived. This is a front set of springs here. This is the original set they sent me as part of the package. So there was 4 springs, 2 for the rear and 2 for the front with the shock absorbers. Now, this set here is the set that we didn't end up using. The reason for that is because they're faulty. What actually happened was they sent me springs that really weren't a matched pair. I imagine that as they make them, there's some variances in the forging of these springs, and they really should be matched together. This set wasn't. As you can see here, all the straps are not lined up. That's not a big deal because they're only covering the leaves. However, the ends are all very, very different. The secondary leaf, there's a massive gap on this one, a really tiny gap on this one. But, okay, we can deal with that. However, the big factor was the fact that the ends were different. The lengths were different. This thing here is lined up, they're way different. Okay, I'm going to grab the camera and show you basically what that's all about. Alright, so we're at one end of the spring here, and it's actually a little bit difficult to see because this outer part of the spring here is so different to the other side. But that's the gap in here. It's a little bit, really, it's not manufactured that well at all. But we have to look at the eye, the internal part of the spring here, and I've got them lined up as best I can. Really not that obvious, but they are lined up. The hole through the centres are lined up perfectly at the moment. Right, the other end of the spring, you can tell here that between the two spring eyes, there is a massive difference. It's actually about 10 millimeters, that's what it measures out at, and the camera is really sort of having difficulty here trying to show it, mainly because the sort of second layer of the spring here is all sort of all over the place. But as I said, the mounting points, the spring eyes here, you can see how far apart they are, and that put the center out of the springs as well. These two center bolts here, and that means that the axle's all twisted out of line, all right? Now, the issues don't stop there, just with the springs. Here we have a set of shock absorbers, all right? Nice new shock absorbers, and they should be. And the reason for that is they were fitted to Charlie, my Land Rover. And there's no real sort of indications on them. There's a little bit of, there's some serial numbers here, which I'm sure means something to the manufacturer and the distributor, but they really don't mean anything to the general public. I am not to know. So when I'm sent a set of springs and shock absorbers for a series vehicle, I imagine them to be correct, but they're not. The reason I have this set here, all covered in dust and stored away, and you'll notice my Land Rover actually has a set of shock absorbers in it, is because the first set they sent me were wrong. These ones are for the front. The Land Rover would bottom out. The shock absorbers would give a very definitive bang as you went over a speed bump or over a gutter or anything like that. And when I questioned this, and I actually had to contact the manufacturer, that's Rocky Mountain in Canada themselves, with this number and say, is this correct? They said, no, they're not correct. The supplier in Sydney actually sent you short wheelbase shock absorbers, which are different. So I had to then order again, and I eventually got a set of shock absorbers in here, the set that I should have had originally. These are the springs in the Land Rover, the actual set that are fitted. And here is an example of one of the bushes. As you can see, it's been ripped apart completely. So out of the spring set I've got that's actually in the Land Rover, I've already replaced 3 of those bushes before. So within about 18 months or a bit longer, I've actually had to replace the bushes once already, and now I'm trying to do it again. And this is where the problem comes about. This is really pissing me off. I'll be honest with you. I can't hold back here. I'm just going to have to review this as I've come across this situation. I contacted the company. Sorry, can't supply. What do you mean can't supply? No bushes. 2 months. 2 months, they told me I'd have to wait. I have a vehicle I use daily. It's an automotive vehicle. It's an automotive part I'm looking for. Yet the single wearable part in their springs, they can't replace. They cannot replace it. So I'm left now having to find alternatives. The single part that's wearable, 2 months. I said, well, what am I meant to do? So this is your service? You can't offer anything else? No. They are very difficult to deal with. They are not helpful at all. As I said, really good product, terrible service, disgusting service. I'm actually really angry. I'm pissed off with this situation. So I've got to find an alternative. The problem is I still have faulty bushes. Now, I'm not going to let that get to me. It does a little, but I'm not going to let it stop it. I have to drive this Land Rover. This is my daily vehicle. So we're going to find an alternative, and we're going to show you how to fix up a situation when the company really lets you down. All right? So let's take a look.